Have you ever been at home, maybe in your parents' house, maybe in your grandmother's house or in your guardian's house, and then you guys bought ice cream and then you ate kidogo and put the rest in the freezer, and maybe you totally forgot about it, and then maybe a few days later it's hot and you remember, by the way, I have ice cream in the freezer. So you go to the freezer and then you're excited, you go to the freezer, you take out the ice cream, but then when you open it, instead of ice cream, you find that your grandma or your mom finished the ice cream, boiled some cereals, and then put the cereals inside the ice cream container. Very disappointing, right? My name is Rachel Ruki, and this is Letters to the World podcast. I know you're probably wondering, what does identity and ice cream have to do with each other? But it's going to make sense, I promise, and we're going to go back to that ice cream thing. We're going to go back there. So I was like, when I was thinking about the first letter or the first video I was going to do, the theme that kept on coming into my mind was identity. And it was because there was a lot going on and young people were trending on Twitter. And the more I thought about the issues that I saw with young people, the more this theme kept on ringing into my mind. And so this took me through a process or a journey that I'm going to take you through in this video. So in this, let's say, analogy, we have ice cream and then we have the manufacturer. And so in this case, the manufacturer is going to be God, and then the ice cream is going to be you. Okay? The container of ice cream is the outside part of you. It's how you look, your shape, your height, your skin, everything that people see when they look at you. And then the ice cream is the inside part of you, basically the things about you that I'd have to sit down, maybe have a chit chat to get to know about. I don't know if that makes sense. It's the inside part of you. It's your personality. It's your character. It's the way you think. It's the gifts and talents and the how you process things. Yeah. So that's the ice cream in itself. So I want you to imagine a manufacturer is manufacturing lots of ice cream. And this manufacturer, when he's manufacturing this ice cream, he has a purpose for each and every single ice cream that he puts out into the market. And so, for example, if he's creating vanilla ice cream, he knows that vanilla ice cream can be used as a base for like most milkshakes. He knows that vanilla ice cream can be used in cakes. It can be used just on its own. People can eat it as a flavor on its own. And so he has a purpose for it. And then he creates maybe chocolate ice cream. He has a purpose for it, maybe for chocolate milkshake. And then the thing about this manufacturer is that he's creating different things and they all have different purposes, but there's a purpose for each and every single one of these ice creams that he's putting out. And so we have the manufacturer, he manufactures ice cream, so the ice cream is you, and then he puts you out into the market. And so in this case, for terms that make more sense, it's basically you. God creates you, puts you in your mother's womb, and then you get into the world. And so the world is now the market, what we've talked about. So now, when he puts you out, he expects you to achieve the purpose that, he made you for. Because at the end of it all, he's going to come and collect all the containers and he's going to open and check and see, did you achieve the purpose that I had for you? So, so he brings you into this world, and so you come into this world, and people, you have to open up for people to know like who you are. And so basically, the people that the manufacturer entrusts you with, or the people that God entrusts you with, begin to discover you. So they begin to discover like who you are, like how you speak, what is your personality like, what is your character like, are you cheeky, are you calm, are you loud, are you soft-spoken? Basically, they just begin to get to learn you. And now, the thing is that as they begin to learn you, what happens is that voices now begin to speak into your life, okay? So I don't know if you've ever gone to the supermarket and bought ice cream, maybe a different flavor than what you have always bought before, because you're curious, you want to know, like, how does this ice cream taste like, and you go home and you taste it. You're either gonna like it or you're not gonna like it. And if you don't like it, there's someone who's going to like that flavor, and that's why it's in the supermarket, right? But then there's now the flavors that you like, that you normally buy. And so it's the same thing when people begin to discover you, when the manufacturer has brought you into this world, when God has brought you into this world, people begin to discover you, and they begin to discover the things about you they like and the things about you they don't like. And now, as voices begin to speak into your life, there's good voices and there's bad voices. So the good voices, or the positive voices, are the voices that speak into your life. They speak into your purpose. And so they sort of help you achieve the purpose that the manufacturer had for you. And I don't know if you've ever listened to people's testimonies. There are people who will tell you that maybe there's a teacher somewhere in primary school who is the reason as to why they achieved their dreams, because that teacher spoke life into them, right? But then there are also people who will tell you that those same teachers spoke death. I don't know if that's the right word. To them, maybe they told you you'll never achieve your goals or whatever. And then that maybe derailed you a little bit because it messed with your self-esteem, etc. So what I'm trying to say basically is that once now the ice cream has come into the market, or once you have come into the market, now voices begin to speak. Some are positive and they push you to purpose, and some are negative, they push you away from purpose. And the negative voices actually have a leader, who in this case is the enemy, whose work basically is to steal, kill, and destroy. And so what negative voices are going to be doing basically in your life, they are going to either be stealing, killing, or destroying when it comes to your purpose. And so you begin to grow, and now voices begin to speak to you. So now you encounter the negative voices. And so the negative voices are the ones that begin to tell you maybe you don't look good enough, you need to change something about the way you look, or maybe whatever gifts God has placed inside of you are not good enough for the world, or they're not acceptable. Or maybe they begin to tell you what? Just negative things about you that make you want to change who you are, or want to change what you want to do in life. Now, something I should mention is that, let's go back to the ice cream container. So when the manufacturer manufactures you, he usually feels like if you open a new ice cream, you'll find that the ice cream has been filled up to a certain point. So what happens is that now, as people are discovering you, anytime you listen to the negative voices, you take out. Now I want you to just envision an ice cream container, and I want you to imagine you scooping out ice cream and scooping it out. So you're left with kidogo ice cream. Now I want you to imagine that every time a negative voice speaks, you keep on scooping out, scooping out, scooping out, until you're left with like a very small layer of ice cream. Now, the way this manufacturer has created you, there is things that people cannot take away from you. So even if people discourage you, there are things they can never take away from you. So as much as the more you're listening to negative voices, more ice cream is being scooped out of that ice cream container. There's going to be a little bit of ice cream left at the end of it all. And that's the part of you that nobody can remove, nobody can change, because the manufacturer has made you that way. So, because as beings and the way we have been created, because we cannot remain empty, we have to find something to fill that emptiness, right? So I'm trying to imagine that maybe you've grown up and maybe there's been a lot of negative voices in your life. So you've scooped out yourself, and then now you've been left with kidogo, like ice cream left inside of you. But there's a huge empty space now between that thin layer of ice cream and the top of the ice cream container. There's a huge empty space. You cannot remain empty. You will always find something to fill that emptiness. So what are you going to fill that emptiness with? So you're going to fill that emptiness with things that the manufacturer did not create you to fill with. So this is what happens. Before you do an action, you have to have thought about it and processed it. That's why in this analogy we are dealing with the ice cream itself. We're not dealing with the container in itself, because before you even go and get surgery done, because somebody told you that maybe there's a part of you that's not big enough, or there's a part of you that's not thin enough, before you agree to go to that surgery table, you have to have thought and processed it. And that is where you begin to empty yourself. You don't begin to empty yourself after you've already done the surgery or on your way to the surgery. You begin to empty yourself the minute you accept that who the manufacturer created you to be is not good enough. So now you begin to feel that void, that emptiness with things. So for example, somebody told you about your body, you accepted it. The minute you accepted it, you've already scooped it. You scooped out a little bit of yourself. So now you begin to fill it with something. So now we are going to go back. You remember when I talked about the ice cream in the freezer? You went, opened, and found your grandma or your mom had, boiled some cereals. And then, so we are going back there. So I want you to think of, so we are going to start feeling that emptiness. So layer one, someone tells you about your body. So I want you to think of any cereal that you know is usually put in an ice cream container, right? We can start with githeri. So that's layer one, githeri. Layer two, maybe someone convinces you that your gifts or your talents are not good enough. So you begin to think of other things you can do and you do them. So again, you've emptied yourself. So you have to fill that emptiness with something. So think of another cereal. For me, I've chosen jahe. So far we have 3 layers. We have ice cream, githeri, and jahe. And then maybe someone convinces you that your personality is maybe too much, or maybe you're too shy, and so you decide to change for them. Okay, that's another layer. So we are going to add another nini. So at the end of it all, I just want to help you understand what's happening. At the end of it all, you will have all these layers of things that are not necessarily what the manufacturer created, but when that lid is closed, nobody knows. Like we walk around life and we look okay, and we look at people and they look okay, but on the inside they are a mess. Because even like I want you to think about it practically. If, for example, you went to the freezer, you found that ice cream container, and you found, maybe when you opened the container, what you saw was githeri, and you decided, okay, let me cook it, and you prepare your onions, your tomatoes, and then you start the process of cooking. When you go to pour out the githeri, to your utter dismay, to your utter shock, you find out that it's not just githeri, it's githeri mixed with dengu, mixed with njahe, mixed with ice cream, and maybe chicken broth. That is not something edible, right? It's so messed up. So some of us, that's actually most of us on this earth, that's how we walk around. Like on the outside, because when you feel yourself, an empty container will always find use. And even though it's being used wrongly, it will always find use. I don't know if you've ever seen these boys who are sent to collect, plastic containers and plastic bottles. And then you've gone to buy something somewhere and you find, this is where these people take those containers. Yeah, because an empty container will always find use. So that's how we walk around full of things that are not what the manufacturer has created us to be. And the problem is that those things never satisfy us, because just because they fit the container does not necessarily mean that it's the right thing that's supposed to be there. So we walk around and still we are not satisfied. Still we are trying to seek validation. Still we are trying to know ourselves. We still feel like we don't know ourselves. And still there's a part of us that longs for us to love and accept ourselves the way we are. So the only way that we can be able to fix this issue is if we go back to the manufacturer and ask, what did you create me for? Like, why am I even on this earth? Because I have tried to figure out my way. I have tried to fill myself with things that I thought, maybe if I did this, maybe if I change that, you know, maybe I'm gonna feel better about myself, or maybe I'm gonna know myself. But then still I feel there's an emptiness. Still I feel I don't know myself. And the manufacturer, because he is the one who created you, knows very well why they created you, what they created you for. By the way, if you notice, if you purchase something like, especially electronics, they always come with a manual, because the manual is going to help you. If you, just in case the manufacturer is not around, the manual helps you be able to understand how does this thing function, and you can always go back to the manual. And this manufacturer, in this case, who is God now, has left us a manual, which is his word. And so his word enabled us to go back and see, like, what did God create me for? And I don't want to get into that, because that can be a video on its own. But essentially, what I wanted to drive, basically the point I wanted to drive in this video, is that we need to go back to the manufacturer, because that's the only way we can be safe. That's the only way we can know what we ought to do. And in my case, because as much as I'm talking about this, I was like that. I was like that ice cream container that's full of so many things that are not what the manufacturer created me to be. What the manufacturer did for me is that he takes that container, he empties it completely, cleans it, fills you back, fills back the container, and then he now does not leave you alone. When he sends you into the market, he goes with you. So that every step of the way, whenever you feel stuck, whenever you feel lost, you can always go back and ask, by the way, am I on the right track, or is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And that is the advantage that you have. And at the end of it all, if you decide to go back to the manufacturer, at the end of it all, you will finish this life, this race, having achieved the purpose that God had for you. And so if you're there, if you're struggling with identity, I'm telling you, the only way to fix this thing is we need to go back to our maker, our creator. He knew us. In fact, the Bible says he knew us when we were in our mama's womb. He knew us even before, right? Like, he knew you even before. He knows you. He knows why he brought you onto this earth, into this earth, whichever is right. And he knows the purpose that he has for you. But you have to go back to him, because he does not, the way he works is that he has to make sure that you really, 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 really want to know him, really, really want to be part of his family. So you have to accept him. And that way, he's going to now work with you. He's going to take you, he's going to clean you, and he's going to walk with you each and every single step of the way. And now he's going to help you discover yourself and discover what he created you for. So, if you watched this video and found it encouraging, educative, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and another friend and another friend and another friend. And if you're also there and you would want to know, how do I access the manufacturer? How do I access God? How do I go back to God? It's simple. The book of Romans 10:8 tells us that if you believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior, and if you confess with your mouth that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And that's the first step. That's the biggest step. Once you walk that step, he takes over. And from there, you're going to be good. So, shout out to the one and only JoeK for an amazing video. Please, guys, go check him out on Instagram. And yeah, support.